probably I think take Jeremy a little more. I don't know. It's been fun to watch his journey. He's been doing so well. He plays all sorts of events. And I don't know, he's a little bit of a cutie pie. So I'd love to see him do well.
I also find Jeremy Becker incredibly attractive. Just want to put that out there.
Well,
Call me Jeremy.
Coming to you straight from Las Vegas, it's the Poker News Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Chad Holloway. This is the Poker News Podcast, and it is new and improved because we are in studio, Level 9 Studios here in Las Vegas, and I've got a couple new co-hosts. I want to introduce them right now. I am talking about Kyna and Mike Holtz, two of my good friends here in Vegas, two very accomplished poker players. Thank you for agreeing to be my co-hosts on the Poker News Podcast.
No problem. Going to be fun.
You're most certainly welcome, Chad.
We have some interesting topics, but before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor for this episode, and that is PokerStars. They are gearing up here in the United States for their Scoop series in the regulated markets, so be on the lookout for that schedule coming up in a week or two. But this episode sponsored by PokerStars. Now, I want to talk to you too a little bit for our audience. This is the first episode that we're doing this. It's going to be audio, visual. There might be some listeners out there who aren't familiar. I think they're crazy if they don't. But let me introduce, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. We'll start with Mike. Mike is the BrockLesnar online WWE superstar. Well,
That's me.
Was now disgraced, by the way.
Sure, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, right. And a two-time online player of the year, WSOP, 2021, and now reigning, right, in 2023?
Yep, professional luck box, winning player of the year twice. Keeping it real, you know?
There you go. And you are also so you're the player of the year, and you have the WSOP cash record. Tell me about that.
Yes. So last WSOP, I had 25 cashes overall, like 13 live, 12 online, I think, but those numbers might be slightly off. It's the record for the most cashes in one WSOP, and surreal. Can't believe it happened. Still shocked.
Yeah, and you're a rare breed that you play both live and online, and you've won. How many circuit rings have you won?
Six,
but a WSOP online bracelet.
Right, but I won that online, so that doesn't
it's
count,
not
right?
It's not a live one like mine right here.
It's fake.
And of course, Kyna England. I've known you for quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah, we're both from the Midwest, Wisconsin originally, and Illinois, right?
Yeah, from Chicago.
And then we both relocated out here just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I used to work for the MSPT, the Mid-States Poker Tour, and I was the media director, and that's kind of where I would see you. That's how I got to know you. And then that's where you made a name for yourself at the get-go.
Yeah, the MSPTs were always super fun, and they were kind of the biggest tournaments in the Midwest at the time. And it was like local and easy to get to. I remember they always ran so many satellites and stuff too. So it was like easy as a beginner to like be able to play those. So I'm a fan still.
Yeah, and then you won the MSPT at Canterbury Park, which was the first ever card room I was at, 18 years old. Drove 3.5 hours from Wisconsin up to Shakopee. And then that also allowed you to win the MSPT Player of the Year that year.
Yeah, well, it was close, but that pushed me into first, and I just had to hold through one more tournament. So it was a good year.
Yeah, well, what was it like to close that out? Like, was that one of the proudest poker accomplishments for you up to this point?
It really was. It was something, to put on the resume and, say that I did it. And when it came down to it at the end, it was so fun because it was like between me and Taylor Howard, and there was one more MSPT at the Venetian, and Taylor was still in it, and he needed to get something like 7th. So in order to sweat him, I bought into the side event so I could keep an eye on him and see when he busted. And when he busted, we all just cheered and gave hugs, and he was a good sport about it. So it was really fun.
Yeah, I miss getting to play on the MSPTs now that we're based in Vegas. But the good news is we've got the Win right there, the Venetian, the WSOP when it comes to town. So
we got the firepower over here.
Yeah. Well, let's address the elephant in the room. We're all wearing the Spraggy shirt.
Sure.
Right? This episode is sponsored by PokerStars and Spraggy, we're going to say.
Yeah, thank you, Spraggy, for sponsoring us. We really appreciate it.
The funny story about these shirts, the World Series of Poker last year, I think it was.
NAPT.
NAPT at Resorts World. I do a lot of thrifting. If you follow me on Twitter, you see I'll tweet out these poker finds that I find at the thrift stores throughout Vegas. And at one of the Goodwills, were just this old Run It Up merchandise, right? From Jason Somerville's Run It Up Reno.
Oh, yeah.
And there were pajama pants, and there were some Lex Veldhouse stuff, but there were also a lot of these Spraggies. I bought a couple, but when I tweeted it, Mike saw it, and he's like, which one is it? Where is this at?
So I actually was watching the Spraggy stream on YouTube, and he said something about it in the chat, was talking about it, like there were Spraggy hoodies somewhere in Vegas, and I thought they were trolling for $5 or $10, whatever it was. I can't remember. And when I learned that was real, you think I didn't get right in the car and let them know what time it was? Bought every single one besides 3. I had like 20 of them.
How much did you spend at the Goodwill?
I don't remember. Maybe like $120. It was like more than you should spend at a Goodwill, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts, then you show up the NAPT with a big white Goodwill bag, and you're going out like you're Santa Claus passing out these Spraggy merch.
No, 100%. Yeah, I felt like Santa Claus. You know, it felt great, yeah.
Is that where yours comes from?
I definitely requested one in advance. I think I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, save me one. Because we've talked about this before, that we're actually very big Spraggy fans. Like,
Let's go, Sprag.
I watch his live stream a lot. Like, I think he's really great. Like, even, his chat is really great, and he participates with them and like interacts. And shout out to Spraggy's channel. He's really great.
Yeah, he brings a sensual energy that other streamers they don't have.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to get him on the show at some point. Sometimes when he's in Vegas, come in studio here, and that'd be a fun one.
He's a good lad. I'd like to have him on. Let's see what's good.
Yeah. Well, we're fans of Spraggy. Maybe he'll be fans of us. Somebody who's not so much a fan of me and Poker News is one Maurice Hawkins. And, you can see him here on the table. We got a picture of him in the news recently because at the WSOP circuit down at Harris Cherokee, he finished 3rd in the main event for $178,000. And once that was out there and he got some notoriety from poker.org, who was there reporting it, some people brought up the past, a backing arrangement that he had. I first reported on it in 2019, did a follow-up story in 2022. Basically what it was is there's a gentleman named Randy Garcia who backed Maurice Hawkins at one point. They had falling out, bad blood, whatever it was. And ultimately, Randy Garcia went to the courts in Florida and got a judgment for $115,000. And so it's one of those situations where Maurice Hawkins just scored $178,000. Is he going to make any payments towards this $115K? Doesn't sound like he's going to. Maurice Hawkins on the defensive. And in a video interview he did with poker.org, called me out personally, called out Poker News because of these articles that I have written in the past. I don't do much. I'm a bygones be bygones, and I am, to me, it's just a job. It's nothing personal. Like, this is Poker News, and if there's a court judgment against one of the more high-profile poker players out there, we're going to write about it. But he took offense to it, certainly seems to have taken it personal, and, came at me. So now I get a little opportunity to clap back, so to speak.
Sure.
I'm going to share here. We're going to share one of the clips from the poker.org interview where you can see exactly what he had to say. So here that is.
So I probably do owe him 20 bands, but when a man disrespects you, tried to finish me, associated or AK with Chad Holloway and Poker News, right before the World Series, they recirculated an article saying Maurice stiffs backers. At no point did I stiff this man. At no point did I stiff any other backers like this. At what point do these people have to have accountability for what they're trying to do to my career?
I think we'll see how this goes.
Because these poker sites needs to be accountable. Poker News and Chad Holloway tried to end my career right before the World Series. They put a whole article where I almost couldn't figure out how I was going to make it happen. Where's the accountability at? There's none. But I see you.
All right, so there you have it. I mean, it's not terrible to get called out, but that wasn't the only one, because this came out and then somebody brought it to my attention that actually 2 months earlier, so even before this resurfaced from his cache, he did another interview with the Poker Ain't Life podcast. I hadn't heard about it. I wasn't too familiar with it, but I watched it. And on that one, it was a little more juicy because he had a little more to say. So let's play that clip right now.
I have it on their bio, bro. But Poker News has no bio. You know why? Because bitch ass Chad Holloway, who tried to, let's bring it up. He brought out an article right before the World Series. So trying to get 5 years later after the article printed, trying to make sure I couldn't get no backing. Oh, don't worry about it, Chad. I could back myself, you bitch. But yeah, wow. So he put out an article right before the World Series, and then just regurgitating information, bro. That ain't poker news, bro. That's you just trying to fuck me, man. So Chad Holloway, so you can know, you can kiss my entire ass, and I see you all the time. And when I see you, I don't say nothing to you because you're a little bitch, and I want you to know it. Okay? Thank you, Chad Holloway. Now write about that bitch. Okay, moving on. So,
all right. So I got to ask. I've never had a nickname, but bitch ass Chad Holloway.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not bad. I could be bitch ass Mike Holtz. I like that a lot, actually. I'm gonna start going by that.
Definitely could be a lot worse. But you know, it's he doesn't know what else to say. Probably it does happen every single time he wins something. This comes up, and you know, I haven't even been in poker for that long, 5-6 years maybe, and I've heard Maurice brought up so many times. Oh, Maurice won something again. Oh, we're trying to get him to pay his backers, or his backers trying to get him to pay whatever. So yeah, it's just, it seems it's new news and old news at the same time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked that some of the other outlets out there acted like this was breaking news.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Right.
no, I wrote about this 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever. Like, this has been out there, and a lot of people just didn't do their research. And that gave me an opportunity on Twitter to actually be like, here's the court case, here's the numbers. Like, this is out there.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where it's kind of obvious what's going on, right? I mean, I felt like I was watching the Rick James skit on Dave Chappelle, where he's like, I didn't do anything to Eddie Murphy's couch, and it's like, yeah, stomp my feet on Eddie Murphy's couch. You know, Maurice Hawkins is saying, yeah, I don't owe anybody any money. Yeah, I might owe him $20,000, but I'm not paying him. You know, it's like
he disrespected me, so I don't. That's not
yeah,
how it works.
and as someone who's had a bunch of people who owe me money as well, like I've had a bunch of situations where, you know, he talks about the guy tried to go mafioso on him or whatever. It's like, well, bro, when someone's trying to get their money for 6 years, they go through the courts, they do all this stuff. Like maybe that's their last resort, is try to act like a tough guy and see if they can get it out. And I'm not saying that's correct or anything like that. And I've played with Maurice Hawkins, and as a person, when I played with him at the table one time, we were cool, we were cordial, and I had known about the stories about him. I thought they're awful if they're true, and obviously the judgment's out there. Seems pretty obvious that Maurice owes the guy money, and I mean, I don't know. A man's only as good as his word. I'm sure we've all heard that a billion times, so I don't know. I don't owe anyone money. I've never owed anyone money. I couldn't imagine doing that, and so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems kind of clear what's going on here.
Yeah. One of the things with Randy Garcia, I've spoken with him over the years for these pieces that I've written. Yeah, he did at one time go to Maurice Hawkins and say, "Hey, just pay me $20,000 and we'll call it even." Right?
Yeah.
And
Quite a deal.
To Maurice, that's like, well, why would he do that if I owe him money, right? But like, he just wants to get
he
whatever
knows he's not
can.
getting anything. No, I've done. You think I can't imagine the amount of times that I've said that to somebody. Somebody owes me $6,000, and I'm just like, dude, just give me 4,100. Let's call it a day. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, this is common in the poker world. There's a lot of scammers, and I mean, just is what it is. Even, you know, yeah. I mean, maybe Maurice didn't intend for it to go like this originally, and it went sideways. But whatever the situation, he needs. If he owes the man money, which seems very obvious that he does, at least him. I know I've heard a couple other things from some other people, but yeah, man, pay your debts. And if you don't think you owe anything, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you should clear up the court case there.
What do you think? Like, kind of like, I'm the type I've loaned my sister money, right? And she just doesn't pay me. I say, you don't have to pay me much. Pay me $20, so you're showing me that you're at least acknowledging it, right?
I mean, keep paying and everything. And I just wanted to speak on like the whole defamation thing that he's bringing up. And it's like, all right, I get it. Like when your name gets dragged, it makes it harder for you to get backing deals. It makes it harder for you to get respect and credibility in the community. But at the same time, we are playing a sport to an extent. If you're successful in this sport, people want to read about you. And when there's news, people are going to report about it so that other people can read about it. You know what I mean? And it's the same with all of us. Like if we do cool things, like it's the good and the bad. Like you do something good, it gets written about. You do something bad, unfortunately, it gets written about. It's like any other sport. He's an athlete in this field. You know, he apparently did something scummy. We won't call you a scumbag, though, you know, like he said. That was funny.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, to come after you for just doing your job and like, you know, being aware, I think that is sort of scummy, right? Like, I mean, this is just news. It's poker news. It's old news to an extent, but here we are again, and it just is.
Yeah, I certainly sympathize with the idea of it makes his life harder to make a living, but is he making an honest living, I guess is a question. But that being said, what really drives me nuts about the situation, and this is usually true about a lot of people in the poker world, is he has the ability to make it right. He can turn this around. This is all happening because of his decision making, right? there was an incident, you probably know this one pretty well because you're from the same area where it happened, but the silver debacle on the Midway Poker Tour with Dan Bekovic.
I remember this.
Years ago. I was there. I was in the thick of
Oh
things.
man, the
No
joke
way.
never gets old when you get
I
paid in
can't
silver
believe-
money.
No, that is actually insane.
Would you like your prize in real money or silver coins?
I'd like to cash out in gold doubloons, please.
It was like the most insane thing I've ever been in. Like I said, I was in the thick of it.
That's crazy.
But my point was Dan Bekovic eventually did what he could to make these players whole.
He did, yeah.
But I mean, granted, he banked a couple MSPTs to get the money to do that.
Sure.
So who knows if he never did that, would he have done that? But same kind of thing with Maurice Hawkins here is, yeah, Dan Bekovic still has that stain, but then you got to say like, well, at least he did make it right. And so in this instance with Maurice Hawkins, what really drives me nuts is clearly he's a good poker player. You know, he's got, I don't know how many, 14, 15, 16 WSOP circuit rings. He was the all-time leader for a very long time. He consistently runs deep. He's clearly a good poker player.
Mm-hmm.
But his decisions off the felt, in his responses to it, we've seen in the clips, if you watch the full-length interviews, you'll see he just likes to play the victim. Or he says people are coming after him because of his successes. They want to see, him on top and bring him down. That's not the case. We just, as Kyna said, like, this is a sport. We're all dedicating our lives to it. We just want to see good operators.
I think he clearly doesn't. I mean, maybe now he cares about public perception a little bit, but I mean, he's owed people money for so long, and it's like one of those things where if I'm Maurice Hawkins, right, and I owe this money and I've won all this, I go on Twitter, I go on whatever, and I say, listen, this is all true. I've done, here's the judgment. I'm willing to admit my mistakes in the past, yada yada. He could come out of that looking like a good person. Same thing with Phil Hellmuth. I always wonder, why doesn't Phil Hellmuth just apologize for his ridiculous behavior, come out on Twitter? He would be beloved by everyone. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like, we understand that people make mistakes. If you continue to make the mistakes over and over and over again, and you don't rectify them, it's like, you're going to look bad. But if you come out and say, look, everyone makes errors, you know what I mean? I've made errors, you've made errors, it happens, right? Like, I'm here to rectify them. People tend to look at that in a better light.
Yeah.
Things are so much more viral now, too, than like maybe even 5-6 years ago. There's shorts, there's all sorts of different platforms. People are probably recognizing him more now. I don't know. Maybe he's getting a little bit more negative feedback than he has in the past years.
I would disagree with that because I knew, like, I haven't been in poker for tournaments the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And like, I remember, I don't even know how long ago I'm reading on 2+2. There's a thread about him every month. You know what I mean? People are talking about, is this
I'm
guy
just saying
money?
with like videos and everything, like the interview he did has been clipped, like the thing with Tiffany Michelle was clipped, and you just see it a lot more too. It just reaches the masses a little bit more is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong, but I did feel like it was like an old news situation. Like, if he didn't say anything about it, we all know what's going on. You Google Maurice Hawkins, you understand the situation. When he brought it back up now and is trying to defend it, but he defends it in a way where he says, I owe this guy money, but fuck him. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's hard to keep him sincere, but you're totally right with all the media coming out and everything.
And
like,
I do think that was the impetus for what happened here, right? He had this deep run, cash for almost 180,000, and it was Poker.org there shining a positive spotlight on it. And if it's one thing I've learned through my time in the poker industry is people really don't like it when you shine a positive light on somebody who's perceived to be bad, right? Howard Leder, Mike Postle, Chris Ferguson, for whatever reason.
My blood's boiling.
Yeah, and so whether or not the people that did that on Poker.org just weren't aware of the history there, but I think that's kind of what ended up blowing this up. And then they gave him the opportunity, the platform to
multiple
to speak
times I
on
saw it on Instagram. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I was confused myself every time. I'm like, why are they? The first time I saw it, I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. They probably didn't do their homework, or I felt like I had to have been misled. Obviously, PokerOrg wouldn't be posting, letting him have a platform like that. But after looking into everything, I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty cut and dry. Like, I don't know. There's a bad look for PokerOrg, I thought.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting thing that could happen, and kind of, taxes pretty well, is this. So because this has made its way through the courts, there is this judgment against him. We've seen something happen with Mike Postle a year or two ago where he cashed a tournament in the South, and I think it was Veronica Brills or Todd Wittelis's lawyer, tried to swoop in, file whatever injunctive relief whatever the court paperwork
What is Todd's last name?
Wittelis.
I thought it was Whittles.
I'd say Whittles too.
I've said Whittles to his face, I think. I thought he was Todd Whittles.
I mean, maybe I could be wrong.
No, Wittelis is gangster. No, keep going.
I mean, I should ask him. I've known him a long time, but
Whittles is more fitting though, because he like whittles away at the store.
Yeah. All right. Todd Whittles Wittelis. That's what it'll be his nickname now. Good to go.
But they tried to go in and file this paperwork with the casino to seize that prize money. Unfortunately, they were too late because Pascal had already cashed out. But that sort of thing exists. So foreseeably, Randy Garcia right now could hire a lawyer. Might cost him, might be a headache to do it, but come to Nevada, go to Caesars Entertainment, file this paperwork ahead of the World Series of Poker so that if Maurice comes out to the World Series of Poker to play and he cashes, at least until that $115,000 is settled, that's where all that money would go to.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I mean, yeah.
I don't know like the casino's rules on that or like how it works in the court system or anything, but
no, if he legitimately owes Randy money, which it obviously seems like it does, yeah, I mean, if I'm Randy, I'd try to get it in any way possible I can. And that sounds like an injunctive relief. So, I mean,
and you know what?
You gotta do.
Having spoken with Randy Garcia, the judgment's for $115K. I would, this isn't an offer. I don't know this for sure, but just based upon it, past offers, I bet you if Maurice went to him and said, hey, I'm going to give you 35, 40K, let's make this done, settled, I think Randy Garcia would probably do it, and then they can both move on. He could say that he settled the situation and focus on the positives, you know?
Yeah. I think you always take the guaranteed money, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely for sure. And I mean, honestly, yeah, I think if Maurice came out and did that, I mean, he could turn his whole reputation around just from the one thing. And not saying that he's done good in the past. Everything he's done obviously hasn't been great, right? But do the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he'll never be a fan of mine no matter what. But
that seems fair, bitch ass.
Yeah. Now, all this happened down in Florida, which is a good segue into our next story. This was a fun one that our writer, John Sofin at Poker News, discovered and came to me and said, is this something we should write about? I think there's a story here. And I said, go ahead. It is pretty interesting. The story being that there was a poker game and it got banned at the world's largest retirement community, which is in Florida. Kyna, you seem like you were familiar with this place.
I've heard about the Villages. Yes, I've heard it's a party. Okay. And there's some definite action going on there. And poker down there seems very fitting. And this whole situation seems very unfair. So
when you say action, are you talking poker or like other? Because it's a swingers. There's swingers down there from what I was reading.
I mean, I've not ever been there, but I've heard about it from several sources. It gets pretty wild over there.
The Villages is an orgy. Yeah. I've heard there's Villages everywhere. I didn't realize that this was like a brand of retirement communities, but there's a Villages where I grew up. That's where my grandfather wants to go. My mom's always joking on Facebook, like, when I retire, they're going to send me to the Villages. So no, this story's crazy. I mean, I can't believe that, go ahead and explain it to the audience.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's apparently 145,000 residents, making it the world's largest. And that would make sense that there'd be some poker games that spring up.
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Yeah,
what else are you doing?
Right. And we're not talking high stakes. We're not talking big buy-ins. We're talking $25 weekly home game type of situations. But apparently there was a resident there that complained and ruined it for everybody because they banned it. But now the residents who like it, those who might not get their competitive itch, might be older, maybe they can't get out of the house too much. This was their socialization time. This was their fun. They're fighting back. They say they want to bring it. Interesting note, John Sofin published this for Poker News, and the Villages actually noticed it somehow because they then included it on their website and in their newsletter. Awesome. So it actually was I think that might help inspire this, right? The world's largest news site organization involving poker.
Yeah.
Took notice of this.
No, and it should, without a doubt. When I first read this, my first thought was we in America treat old people like they're in prison after they're 75. We shut them off. They go to the retirement homes. They're forced into these things where they can't even play poker. What are we talking about right now?
Yeah, that's pretty lame. I mean, it's not like they're running a card house over there. It's like somebody's house, few snacks, few beers, sit down, gamble. You get to sit all night long. I don't know why the Villages would even care.
I just couldn't imagine
stifle people's fun.
Yeah, what dicks? No, I really think if I'm 78, 80, whatever age, you know what I mean? You put me in the villages and I can't play poker. Like, what are we doing here? You trying to torture me? You know what I mean? Like that number one, two separate things disappointed me about this. Number one is that, you've got older people. They're keeping their minds active. They can't do sports. They can't do any of this. Poker is a game that allows them to socialize. It allows them to have a good time with each other. They're playing for small buy-ins. It's not like they're losing the house, and not like that's 100% the retirement community's business either way. What they're playing for, but the second thing I'm disappointed is when I heard that there was private games in Florida. I'm pretty disappointed. They're only $25 buy-ins. I was booking a plane ticket tomorrow to go play at the villages. You know what I mean?
Poker and a party.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I'm leaving there with a bunch of money and a couple STDs. It's gonna be fire.
Apparently, these games are legal. They're not taking a rake or anything. They're just having, like you said, essentially a glorified home game. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I'm just like the community. I was not aware of it at all. I know there's retirement communities out there, but one with 145,000 people that is apparently like a here for a good time kind of place.
No, it's like it's crazy. If you read into sexually active retirement communities, it's like, it's crazy the amount of sex they're having in there.
That's why you were booking your plane ticket initially.
No, you called me. Good read.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that story. We'll see. Hopefully they reverse course. If people want to play poker, let them play poker. Right?
Let the people play.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let them exercise their minds. Let them do something with their time. You know what I mean? What else are they going to do?
Yeah, they need something. Like, I was down here on the Strip on a Monday at 1:00. And I was just amazed at the amount of old people on these slot machines.
Oh, it's horrible.
Just grinding away,
Yeah, they hog all the good ones.
Yeah.
Those Buffalo machines.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Right.
Well, two players who are a long ways away from retirement age are Jeremy Becker and Landon Tice.
Oh, yeah. My brother in Christ. Absolutely.
Two grinders here in Vegas. They got this crossbook prop bet. I'll go into the details in a minute, but are you guys familiar? You both grind here in Vegas. Have you played against these guys?
I don't think I've ever played with Landon. I was at his table during the main one time, and I played with him like when he was early on in his career, like when he won that MSPT. But yeah, I know them both. I'm familiar with them. I've never played with J-Bex.
Yeah, I've played with J-Bex a couple times, and Landon and I have a lot of history online. As far as live, I've only played like maybe 5 or 6 hands at the beginning of the World Series Poker Tag Team event. Like generally, the pros, if they're partnered up with someone who's an amateur, they play the first orbit on day one because we were all playing a different tournament. So all the pros were playing. We sat down at the table, played a few hands together. I've never really played with them live like that, but I played with Becker for several hours on a couple occasions.
I've actually never played with Becker, but I remember the first time I ever met Landon. My old co-host on the PokerNews Podcast and good friend Jesse Folan is friends with Joey Ingram, and it was Jesse's birthday. He said, we're going to go down to the Sahara and just play 1-2, 1-3, whatever it is. Sure. Joey's going to come down. So we're
Joey
playing.
the GOAT.
We're having drinks. We're having a good time. Well, Joey brought this kid, and it was Landon. This is before Landon was Landon.
Yeah, sure.
And, we're splashing around. We're having fun. And he was there just stoic and serious and just crushed the game. It was very impressive. And, Joey then said, yeah, like he's going to be the next big thing. And then sure enough, he wins an MSPT at Venetian and, the stuff that he does online. And there's a reason he's one of the, young up and comers.
Yeah. He's doing good things. And, he's entertaining too. He entertained us with some egg Instagram updates for quite a long time, putting the content out there, putting in the work, good for him.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for them both, but actually online, I think I wrote somewhere that I would bet on the chop.
Yeah.
I bet it chops somehow.
You would bet a chop? That sounds like a real. I'll give you 80 to 1 odds so they don't have the exact same.
Well, I was saying like 250 to 1.
I'll give you 250 to 1. That's, $1 difference. Anyway, that doesn't.
Is it? Wait, what?
You think that they're going to chop the bet? They would have to have exactly the same exact count.
No, or like it could just be like, okay, we called it, or like,
Okay.
No more bet.
All right. Well, I'm going to pass on this bet then.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
I'm adding in stipulations
sure,
now.
That's fair.
We came that close to our first bet on the PokerNews Podcast 2.0, if you will. Sure, it won't be the last. Like, we're definitely going to have some as this goes on. So
that sounds splendid. I'm sure one of us is going to be more sharp than the other ones. Wonder who it'll be.
Well, the terms of this bet, it's 100% crossbook over a minimum of 25 mutually agreed upon events. Daniel Negreanu was the one who kind of organized this, and then Matt Matt Berkey got involved, if you will. Daniel Negreanu is the coach in the corner of Jeremy Becker. Matt Berkey is that for Landon Tice. They only buy-ins less than $10,000 and a $500,000 cap. And it's going to run from May 28th through July 18th. So during the World Series of Poker, it doesn't necessarily have to be World Series of Poker events. They could play at the Wynn or Venetian or wherever.
Sure.
But it just has to be mutually agreed upon. Now,
Oh, wait a second. It's not just WSOP events?
I don't believe so.
Because they already started, I thought. Like,
No,
when
they
Landon,
did not
So,
start.
yeah,
No, that's fine.
I thought they did too, but then I seen the dates that it's actually happening, because if they had started, Landon would be out to the early lead. He just won an event at the Wynn Millions for $32,000.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I don't believe that one counts.
Well,
unless
there's
No, they
still-
don't.
there's-
It's not. Yeah, it's not even. Yeah, it doesn't start till the WSOP. I thought it was just WSOP.
Well, I
events.
was just going to
I'm
say it makes
surprised.
sense that it's not, because there's, if it's less than 10K, they can't play the 10Ks.
Yeah, it's from what I read in the terms, it is
Okay, so
events
you
under
eliminate
$10,000.
You eliminate all the 10Ks, then a lot of those events are going to overlap, or maybe they can't even play them, or they're mixed games. So it makes sense to include the other ones. Like MGM has such a good series, like Wynn has a good series. There's so much other stuff going on. Even the Orleans has a good series. So it makes sense that they're expanding it, and so that they have more events to choose from too, and not just being at the WSOP. It does a lot for your environment too, to change location sometimes too.
No, I would agree, but the only thing I would say is like having that many different venues involved, it's possible that one or the other might make strategic decisions later on in the challenge to play smaller buy-ins, et cetera, et cetera. So you might have an issue where if you include places like the Orleans, all of a sudden they've got 25 events and one person's up a little bit and they're like, oh, I'm going to play the $100 Orleans every day. Good luck, brother.
Well, probably has to be part of a series or some sort of. I mean, I would hope
It
they
could-
would.
sure. I mean,
they wouldn't be like grinding the like $150 South Point tournament.
No,
and-
yeah.
That's your neck of the
Yeah,
woods.
that's
Stay
my
away.
tournament.
Hot
Get
dog
outta here.
night. Yeah.
It could very well be WSOP events. I should look into that. What I do like that they're doing is it has to be mutually agreed upon in advance, right? So Jeremy Becker can't just go play something, bust it, and then land and say, hey, I'm going to jump into that one. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds me of an old poker story.
Wait. They have to agree upon it the day before, right?
Yeah, before they
that's
actually
pretty,
enter
Okay, that's
it.
pretty interesting, actually. Then, yeah. It's gonna. I wonder if that's gonna get weird towards the end. Like, I wonder if both camps are gonna have some like, we're gonna play this. We're gonna, you know what I mean? I wonder if there's
Yeah.
gonna be some weird like scheduling things. What happens if what happens if 22 events are played and then the other one just says I'm not playing anymore? The other, is there like a stipulation? I mean, I'm assuming they have to have something in there.
Yeah,
right?
it's a minimum of 25 mutually
Well, then
agreed.
maybe
So,
they
like,
go play like the 250s or like the $400 ARIA tournaments or something like that. And you got to think, even during this, like if this is during the summer, those get huge. Like the $400 whatever tournament at the ARIA was like $40,000 for first one
Yeah, for
time when I
sure.
went to play. I couldn't even believe it. So like these, I mean, even if they want to go that route, first of all, it's not going to be like super easy to just win because you're at the ARIA, not the WSOP. There's still the same field.
and they're both playing it. So it's
Yeah,
fair.
and they're both
Yeah.
playing it, and still would be a lot of money to win.
Yeah, I think if both of them are like just playing how their normal schedules, how they would have with or without actually having this bet. Like I think if they both played their normal schedules, the way I look at it is this: playing with both of them. I think if any of the events are online, Landon's a favorite, right? Since there's no events online, I give the edge in the lower buy-in events to Becker. When I played with him, one of the things I noticed about Jeremy, and I thought this was really impressive, was it's going to sound weird, but like if he makes an error in a hand, he hates himself for hours. And like I remember feeling like that when I first started playing. Like some of the drive that I got, to become better at poker was like, I would hate myself for the mistakes I made. And he remembers every hand too. And those two things, like you see a lot of like the Scott Sievers of the world, you know what I mean? Like the Daniel Negreanu, some of the guys that didn't get there with solvers, but they obsess over it and they play a certain way. I mean, not to say Scott Sievers isn't solvers, but I see a lot of similarities between the way like a Jeremy Becker thinks and one of those guys. So like I think in the small buy-ins where he's playing these all the time, he's not playing GTO, he's playing extremely exploitative. He knows the moves, he knows the timings, he knows the bet sizes, and he can recall hands he's played in the past. Maybe he won't recall the actual situation, but his subconscious will say, I remember in this situation, like something's not right here. This person's bluffing, right? And not to say that Landon doesn't have that, because Landon obviously has good results live as well. I just think in the higher buy-ins, it's going to be more important to have GTO-specific strategies where, ICM becomes a huge factor. And I think the bigger buy-ins, Landon would have an advantage in those. Like if they did 10Ks plus, I would take Landon all day long. But if they play a normal schedule, I think it's really close, but I like Becker.
I like that they're doing that similar schedule. You know, they've ironed out the details because, as I was going to say, it reminds me of this old poker. It's really probably an urban legend, but an old story goes that at the World Series of Poker one year, there was two characters. They both since passed away, but Sam Grizzle and Eskimo Paul Clark.
Okay.
They were both known for kind of being the guys who are asking for buy-ins and, you know.
Is this the bathroom story?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's where, I don't know if you know this one.
I don't know, and I don't think.
So it's
maybe.
something along the lines of, Eskimo Clark walks into the bathroom and Sam Grizzle's there. And he says, hey, Sam, you want to swap 10% in the 1K? And Sam says, sure, let's do it. And then, Sam walks out. And somebody says to Eskimo, hey, Eskimo, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but Sam already busted that tournament. And Eskimo says, well, that's okay. I didn't even register.
Yeah, that's such a good story. It's funny. Sam Grizzle and I played a little bit online before he passed away. And really mean person. He used to say crazy things in the chat, like consistently, like insane
He's
insults.
probably the reason why there is no chat anymore. Then.
Yeah. Oh, Sam Grizzle's getting us from the grave. God, why'd you do this?
I actually played with him one time at WSOP circuit stop at Council Bluffs in Iowa. And he certainly was, vulgar, but he was so quick-witted and he had a good sense of humor. I know Helmuth and others have talked about that, but
like 6 months before his death, he's threatening to beat me up in chat. Like he's like, "Come to the Bellagio, I'll fight you any day." I'm like, "Bro, we're playing a $7 tournament. Relax, brother."
All right. Well, we've talked a little bit about Becker and Tice. It is GTO versus that live game. Who do you like? If you had to bet money in this crossbook situation, who do you think is going to come out on top?
I like both of them as people, but I think take Jeremy a little more. I don't know. It's been fun to watch his journey. He's been doing so well. He plays all sorts of events. And I don't know, he's a little bit of a cutie pie, so I'd love to see him do well.
I also find Jeremy Becker incredibly attractive. Just want to put that out there.
Well,
Call me Jeremy.
It sounded based upon what you said you would go with Becker in this situation, huh?
Yeah. If I looked at the terms and everything in this specific bet, yeah, I think I like Becker just slightly, though. I mean, what people have to understand too is like there's so much variance in this, right? Like 5% one way or the other could easily swing this. So I think both of them are incredibly talented. And after Tice won the 400, I started to doubt my opinion on it. That I was starting to think, man, maybe, because I got a little bit of money down on my boy Jay Bex, you know what I'm saying? A little bit of cash. So I was doubting myself a little bit. The more I thought about it, yeah, I mean, I got it at even money. So I think Bex will take it. You better take it, Bex.
I think it's going to be close to.
You say that a lot, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I wish. I want to see his. Anyway.
I'm going to go with Becker as well. And we actually did a poll on PokerNews.com, and 72% actually think that Becker is going to get it done. But as I said, that poll was done, and I made my prediction before Landon went and won this Win Millions. Now I know that's not part of
Landon.
It's not part of the bet, but it does show like, all right, I'm here for this.
Here I am. I'm showing up and I'm doing my best. Good job, Landon.
You know what I've always noticed is like I watch a lot of UFC, so like on YouTube they'll have like little polls popping up and it'll be like, who do you think will win the fight, blah blah blah. And whenever it's like 80% of the people on one side and it's close odds, the other person wins 100% of the time. So you scared me a little bit there, Chad, but yeah, I mean, both of them are cool people. I hope they both have a lot of success, you know what I mean? Like they're both great. No matter what happens with the bet, they're both going to be superstars in poker. And I mean, they both already are. So,
and I think that's great that Negreanu and Berkey are both using their notoriety, their famous platforms to kind of push these guys up, right?
Yeah.
It's something fun, too, to follow during the summer. Like, what is it? The draft is always really fun to keep an eye on. And, like, now this, just to watch the news, see how these guys are doing and follow it. It takes the edge away from just, like, going and playing and showing up yourself and grinding every day. You're like, other things.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed that they took the online events out of that draft. I was hoping to get bought for some high dollar money.
Like at $1.
Yeah.
$1.
You think I'm $1 now? I dare someone to draft me for $1. Watch what happens. I'm going to win everything.
You did have 25 cashes.
It is very hard
I did have
to.
25 cashes. I almost forgot that I broke the record.
Assuming we're doing this podcast through the WSOP, which I hope to and plan to do, we'll have to do some sort of graphic where we have like a chart of some sort with what their Becker versus Landon Tice watch.
That'll be fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to talk one last thing. This wasn't on the original outline, but I'd be remiss if I didn't. And I didn't really mention it at the beginning of the episode because I was saving it kind of here at the end. Kyna, Game of Gold.
What?
I mean, like I said, I knew you from MSPT, and then you were an ambassador for Club GG for a while, which I assume is what got helped you get invited with the Game of Gold with GG.
It was like they were like mutual. Yeah, I did the interview for the show, and then I was offered the partnership for a year for Club GG.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was super cool experience. I cannot get you on the show, so do not ask me, okay? But they are doing a second season, and I can't wait to see. I like to speculate with my friends who's going to be on it. If anybody has already been asked, let me know. I'm so curious, it's going to keep going, and it's super cool to have been a part of like the inaugural season, and it was awesome.
You were, one of the breakout stars of it. Negreanu has said this time and again, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. I loved one of my favorite moments of the whole season, and just knowing being from the Midwest was that you're like you wanted some wine.
Yeah,
and
come
I got
on.
that.
I mean, there's no wine for me today either.
There will be in the future. She's got that in her
I
contract.
thought you were a good person, Chad, but I guess not.
It's just like I like to play poker with wine, and I had to go first. I was like, come on, like we had done a whole bunch of setup stuff and filming and makeup and hair, and I was like, can I just have a glass of wine before I have to go in and play poker? So that was fun though. I love to be known as the wino, no big deal.
One of my favorite, maybe my favorite moment of Game of Gold, which, by the way, incredible show. Like, I cannot believe how good it was.
It turned out so good. I was nervous. We filmed it a year before it came out, and all year I was like, what's going to happen?
Oh, my God. That must be so nerve-wracking. Holy shit. Oh, wow. That had to be so crazy for you. Wow. Your scenes with Jungle Man are the best, because
Yes.
I feel the pain in your body. He's just acting like a lunatic, and you're just like, hey, Jungle, maybe he's gone. All right.
That is exactly what it was like too. And they were worried once it was like heads up. They're like, okay, and actually, surprisingly, I am pretty studied heads up. Like I like heads up poker. I think it's fun. It's more aggressive, and that's, what I like. But they were kind of worried that, I wouldn't be as studied as them, which of course I wouldn't be, So I was like, okay, Jungle Man, let's watch together and I'll ask you questions and, you can help me out. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, Jungle Man's ridiculous. That was so ridiculous. It was great TV, though, I got to say. You know what I mean? There was some great conflicts and everything, and people to root for, people to root against. So,
her journey, I loved it because you're kind of the underdog for most of it, right? And you're not what I knew you as like a mid-stakes player.
Yeah.
Right? You're a MSPT player of the year. You're not playing the Triton High Roller Series like some of those guys on there. Like, so that underdog story, and throughout you were kind of just hanging on, and then ultimately made it to the final table.
Inched my way in there, you know?
Yeah. That's where I did feel a little bad, was your elimination hand, because it was one of those spots which we've all been in poker where it's multi-way and you're not going to win, but you just got to sit there.
I was like, be a good
very
sport,
professional, very professional.
Like sit here and be a good sport. I was like, oh man, maybe they both have no.
There was literally no chance you could win that hand. That had to be so terrible sitting there.
It was kind of a bummer to like walk out because they're just like in such shock, this big, huge hand, and I have to just be like, bye guys, you know, but like afterwards
nobody
it was
shook
cool.
your hand because they're all worried about winning or losing $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
It was at that point,
and everyone was in the green room like after I went in and hung out with Ali, and like he gave me some pep talk. He's like, you were really professional sitting there, and that must have sucked, But I was happy for Maria. It was such a great time. Oh, spoiler! I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't know. Whatever.
No.
I was really happy to see her win. Like if it wasn't gonna be me, I'm glad it was her.
Did you guys all go out and celebrate or anything like that?
Yeah, we had a party in like they had rented out some room in a club or something, and
I remember when this was being filmed, I didn't know it was being filmed, but I just remember seeing Negreanu, Josh Aryeh, and a bunch of other people were all of a sudden randomly traveling to Korea.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I remember,
we were told not to say anything, but
some did. And what I saw was one of my favorite tweets was Negreanu, Josh Aryeh, and some others went to go out to some club, and they got denied entry because they were too old. You could only be like 30 years old.
38 was the cutoff for 36 or 38.
Wow, that's crazy. I remember reading that. I didn't realize that was during Game of Gold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like they're going up, they're excited. They're going to spend a lot of money, right? As Daniel Negreanu and Josh Aryeh.
I think if they had probably given them some money, they would have let them in.
Yeah,
but,
a little bribery action for the boys.
Are you sure we've got lots of money? But.
So would you do it again? Like if they came to you and said, hey, come
I
back?
don't know anyone that wouldn't if they were like, hey, you want to be on Game of Gold? Like, who would say no at this point? It was so great. And you're like, you know, in another country, having a good time, playing for a bunch of money, like, you know, doing something you love to try and win money, you know, that you don't have to buy in for.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sick. I would love to play on Game of Gold if only there was some way for me to get on. Can't think of any way.
Aside from Mike, of course, is there anybody, and you already said you don't have any sway or any pull, but if you could choose somebody to be on there, is there somebody you'd like to see?
I think that as far as like, you know, female contestants, I think Pokerface Ash would do a great job. She's real nice. She's fun to watch. She's a good person. You want to root for the people that you think are good people, and she's crushing it. Also, my buddy Angela Jordison. She's just so funny. She just throws out these zingers and she like gives zero fucks. So it's like but you know, she'd throw in, you know, battle in the barbecue dads. Like, but no, go out and battle these high rollers, Angela, you know, so that would be really entertaining.
No, Angela's the best. Yeah. That's a really good one. I would love to see Angela on there. That'd be really entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how great of TV he would make, but I got to admit, I'd love to see Alan Kessler.
Oh, God.
I mean, he likes to attack me. He likes to say this bracelet is fake.
There would be nothing he could eat there.
It's so obvious. You put me and Alan Kessler on the same team, and then we get to battle on online and live the whole time. And I'll be looking at him. He's talking about dry Rubens and stuff, and I'm just like looking at him. It would be great. That's great TV.
That would be pretty entertaining. And it would be fun to get Kessler in the studio come WSOP time. Me and him really, like, we I don't want to say we message every day, but it's multiple times a week about just random stupid stuff.
Sure.
I always likened it to you know, Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali, the sports journalist.
Sure.
And they, you know, they would rib each other. That's kind of the relationship.
Oh, that's nice.
You see you and Alan Kessler as that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I like that. I like that.
Because like I do like to, you know, poke the bear with him a little bit because it's so easy to do.
It's so easy.
Yeah, but he's also quick to come.
Who's Ali
criticize.
In this one? Is he Ali?
Yeah.
What's happening here?
One of his favorite things to do is call out articles, because one thing I'll do is I'll share it on social media maybe 2 days later, right? It's like in case you missed it. If you didn't see us, you know, to me that's just good promotion, news, you know.
For sure, yeah.
And he'll come in and he's like, this is old news.
Yeah.
Old news.
I could totally see him saying
that's
that.
his personality.
And so now I snap back at him whenever he does, you know, he tweets something or says something that's old. But
old news, Alan.
Yeah, it's all in good fun. So.
No, of course.
Alan's my good buddy too. He always takes me out on his comps whenever he's in town. He's like, I have $100 here. You want to come? Kyna England, first call. Like,
no, that's nice
cool.
of him. Yeah, no, it's funny. Alan and I have had our differences online or anything, but I got nothing but love for Alan. As long as he doesn't, you know, hurt the recreational community in poker at all, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean?
And one thing I've always said about him too is he's usually right about things that he says, you know, when he's criticizing the structure or he's pointing out an inconsistency and stuff. Not always, but more often than not, I find that he's right.
I'm doing a tally in my head right now. I could probably have a good I could disagree with that.
Maybe we'll make that a segment on this podcast too.
Tally one,
we'll have
that's not bad.
We'll agree. Do we agree with
Alan right?
Yeah. No, the Kessler corner or something. You know, we all eat like well done steaks while we talk about
dry noodles.
Ooh, I love dry noodles. Big fan.
This is a true story. John Sofin, who's one of our writers at Poker News, he wanted to do an article on Alan Kessler's top restaurant, like top 5.
I got pulled into that. Yeah, they made a group chat and included me. And Alan's like, "What do I like?" Kinda like I'm like, "Well, I listed. I won't ruin it. Let's not spoiler the article."
Well, I have no idea what this article says.
It's not out there because, spoiler alert, is Kessler's like, I only like to eat like 3 things. They have 3 restaurants.
Raising
like
Cane's, McDonald's, and Sbarro.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, I mean, we go to the steakhouse. Like, he'll go to different steakhouses and stuff. We go to the steakhouse at the M, or we'll go to the Italian place at the M, but there has to be the right chef, and you have to get the ingredients from the right kitchen, because they can bring stuff to the Italian place from the steakhouse, but we want the steakhouse bread, not the Italian. You know what I mean? Like, it's very particular. And he likes Todd Brunson's restaurant too.
Oh yeah, Roma Deli is awesome. Mm-hmm. I was just there last week actually.
You know what's interesting is I can't believe I'm bringing this up on the podcast. If you go to order Uber Eats from there, it says it's black owned, but Todd Brunson owns it.
Well, he's one of several owners, from what I understand. I don't know.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I always thought, I was like, are they trying to drum up business? What's happening? I'm eating from there all the time. It's delicious.
One of the
chicken
things
parm for the boys.
One of the things I've noticed on Uber Eats, they'll do this is like, you'll order. and it'll be from, let's say it's Roma Deli, but on Uber Eats they try to portray it as some sort of other restaurant, so it might be like super good Italian food or something, right?
Wait.
This is a thing.
You're talking about ghost kitchens?
Yeah. But it's just food coming from a real kitchen.
Let me tell you about how Denny's finessed me with a ghost kitchen during COVID, and this will make a lot more sense now than it did 2.5 years ago, right? So during COVID, obviously we're all stuck in the house. I'm ordering Uber Eats all the time, right? And it's like 2 a.m. I want to get a chicken sandwich because I'm a gangster. That's how I roll. And I see there's this new place called the Burger Den, and I'm looking at it. And it's like got 94, 5-star reviews, whatever's happened. It's like 4.9. I'm like, oh, okay. I can get a grilled chicken sandwich, get an extra one for the dog for $3 with no salt on it. What's good? Like, so I'm ordering from this place. I order like 4 or 5 times. I'm telling my buddies about it. I'm like, it's really good, man. I really like their grilled chicken sandwiches. But all they have is burgers or grilled chicken sandwiches. So one night I go, I'll order a burger, see how it is. I order a burger, okay, and I get a call from the Uber Eats lady, and she's like, hey, just to let you know what, Denny's doesn't have any Diet Coke. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, but you're not at Denny's, you're at Burger Den, just letting you know. And she was like, Denny's is Burger Den. So I got finessed by Denny's. I'd been eating the whole time. I'd bitten into the burger. I was like, oh my God, I've been eating Denny's. And that's when I realized.
But it's not Denny's. It's like people cooking at Denny's. Like that's what it is.
What do you think is the difference between what you just said?
I think, don't people like rent out kitchens for that, like to have their own restaurants? Like it's not a Denny's burger.
I think some people do what you're saying, but Denny's is 24/7.
What Chad is saying is 100% accurate.
Well, like, because that's what Mr. Beast's burger is too. Like
that's also a ghost kitchen. They do like Red Robin. You could tell I'm an expert in this. I'm well read.
We could probably have a whole podcast that's not even poker related about just ghost kitchens.
No, without a
and exposing the ghost kitchens.
Yeah, no, literally, yeah, we could do that.
Well, we are getting to the end of this first episode of the brand new Poker News Podcast.
Ooh.
I believe this is episode 820.
Oh man, we've been here
maybe
a while.
819.
I knew that.
Yeah, you guys, this is your first, and I don't know however many hundred for me, but it actually started back in November 2010 during the November 9
wait, you're serious? This is literally. Oh, I thought you were making a joke. Damn.
There's been many different iterations throughout.
Kyna.
Jeff Platt used to be a host on it. Sarah Harry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Donnie Peters. A lot of people.
Oh, this is interesting now because when I asked, I told Jeff about this yesterday, and he was like, "You're a host on there? Sure, I'll come on. Let him know. You're the host now. Well, you're the co-host now. Let's banter it up." So I didn't know that he was a former poker.
Yeah, used to be.
So we're like the next gen kids then. Like we're next gen Poker News.
We're the new kids on the block.
Just don't go getting anybody knocked up anytime soon.
Yeah. Try not to.
All right. Well, I want to do one last thing. On our last episode, we did a book giveaway. Had Lexi Gavin Mather as our guest. She's got a new book from D&B Publishing. It is Mastering Small Stakes, No Limit Tournaments. This is a book. It's not out yet. It comes out later this month. We got an advance copy. It is signed, autographed by her, and we did a giveaway. I randomly selected a winner earlier today, and that is Rachel Ben-Lisa from New Jersey.
Let's go, Rachel. Congratulations.
So this is going in the mail tomorrow. She's going to get it, and if you want a copy, you're going to be able to find it on D&B Publishing's website. You can pre-order it now. I'm sure it'll be on Amazon and all that. And who knows? I'm sure Lexi will be doing some book signings or something like that during the WSOP.
Yeah, she's definitely doing it. Her and her husband are great people. Yeah. I love them. And then Jonathan Little obviously is behind everything with the mastering series. So you're getting good stuff.
Yeah. Well, once again, this episode was brought to you by PokerStars. The Mike Holtz, Kyna England. You're going to see more of us week in, week out. If people want to follow you on your social media, what's your preferred outlet and what's your handle there, Mike?
So for me, it's Mike Holtz Poker on Twitter, same name on Instagram. I post most stuff on Twitter for the most part. I might do some tournament updates on Instagram, but if you want to follow my career successes, failures, Twitter's the place.
And Kyna, how about you?
I am just Kyna cool everywhere. Kyna_cool on Instagram and in Twitter and I post more on Instagram. I do stories. I like to what I call rob the casino, which is go play slots.
No, it sounds so
it's
exciting.
Not always successful.
Yeah, it's fair. Buffalo. Yeah.
Well, I am Chad Holloway at Chad A. Holloway on Twitter, disco_Chad on Instagram. That's going to do it for this episode, but we will be back next week with more topics to talk about. Join us then, and we'll keep your seat open.
Shout out to Spraggy.
Bye. Thanks, Spraggy.
See ya, boys.